Hi, welcome to Studio 14. I'm Ginny Sawyer, and today we're here to talk about some major road construction projects because we are entering that season. So with me today, we have Tim Kemp, Civil Engineer 3 with our engineering department. Hi, Tim.
Thanks, Ginny.
Yeah. And Jill Marks. Jill is a public relations coordinator for the Planning, Development, and Transportation Service Area.
Yep.
Hi, Jill. Hi. Yeah, so we're entering the cone zone season. How busy is it going to be this year?
As busy as ever.
Busy as that. So the last 2 years, it feels like it's been busier than usual. Is that true?
That is true because it's a mixture of city projects, capital projects that we would normally do. Development is on the increase, so
right.
Sometimes development projects are working out in the right-of-way, which is basically that area where the traveling public is going through.
Right.
And then a mixture of some utility projects. The state, Colorado Department of Transportation, will be doing a few projects in Larimer County, so yeah, quite a mix.
Everybody's out there digging. So if people are interested in sort of that big picture look citywide of what's going on, Jill, how in the world, where do they go?
A good place to check that out would be fcgov.com/fctrip. And then you can kind of get an overview of projects going on all over Fort Collins.
Citywide. I have looked at that page. There are lots of cones.
Yes.
But you can click on them and it actually tells you kind of what's going on. So
Yes.
that's great.
And then for specific projects, we do more targeted outreach. And we'll be talking about that.
As needed. Yeah, so let's talk about specific projects. Horsetooth and Timberline.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the major intersection project we have scheduled for this summer.
Okay, so what does it look like now, that intersection?
Right now it looks like it's very congested. People that go through there every day will realize that, and I guess for a little bit of context, the existing intersection that's there today, that was built 20 years ago.
Wow.
So if you think about traffic patterns and growth over time, that was built without a lot of right turn lanes, so we'll be adding those at a few of the corners. We're adding some pork chop islands, so landscaping improvements. It'll look a lot like the College and Harmony intersection upon completion.
So that will help pedestrians and bicyclists too, getting through there or crossing, a little friendlier?
Yeah, that's true. The pork chop islands reduce that crossing length for pedestrians. So really these intersections have become a pure multimodal improvement. So we're looking at the vehicle operations, bicycle, pedestrian, and transit facilities. We have a few bus stops for Route 12 that will be going in.
Oh, okay. Wow, full on. So what's your schedule looking like?
We're hoping to start in mid to late May. Currently the project is out to bid. So we're collecting bids, and then we need a few more weeks to execute contracts and meet with people. And like I said, we're targeting a May 18th start, but that's a little bit flexible yet. So and going through the fall.
Okay, big project. So what kind of, when we talk about the public and engaging folks, what happens ahead of time? What sort of happens in the middle? How does the flow of information? I assume maybe businesses have already been notified what's coming?
Yeah, go ahead, Jill.
So if you live in the area, you should check your mailbox because we sent out postcards about the project, and then we've also displayed posters at local businesses talking about the upcoming project. We've also done a weekly newsletter, so you can sign up for the newsletter on fcgov.com/Horsetooth and Timberline for weekly updates.
So it has its dedicated site.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not as familiar with that intersection, so help me out here.
Okay.
How impactful is it going to be to those businesses? I know that's kind of always a concern and an issue. Are there other good ways in and out?
Yeah, I'd like to kind of address all of those. And building on what Jill just said a minute ago, if you rewind a little bit, Fort Collins High School is in close proximity to the intersection. So we've been working for about the last 18 months with property owners, Poudre School District, and Fort Collins High School. So we've set up our construction contract in a way to hopefully take advantage of the summer break. So really that June 1st through August 15th, that'll be a majority of the work and the most impactful.
That's when
so we can do that during the summer break. And Jill and I work together on a communication and public outreach plan, and that's what we've been implementing when she mentioned the postcards and the flyers. So looking at all the different resources and tools we have, and then fitting those to how do we communicate with people, who do we need to talk to, and what the messages are. So in general, we're looking at somewhat reduced travel times on Timberline. A majority of that stays the way it is during construction, the 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction. And the major impacts will be to Horsetooth.
Because most of your traffic is going the other way?
Yeah, most of the traffic is on Timberline, roughly 2/3 of it. And then the recommended detour routes. So we always say, if you can avoid the intersection, it's best for everybody. If you need to travel through there, we recommend Harmony and Drake, north and south, parallel arterials, and then LeMay and Ziegler, and kind of find your way there. Everything will be signed, and people should just keep in touch with our communication as to changes in traffic patterns.
Does that change with bus schedules as well?
Yeah, we're working with Transport. So yeah, for those that aren't familiar, Route 12 is east-west connection on Horsetooth. Basically runs from Max over to the roundabout at Horsetooth and Ziegler. Kind of does a loop all day long. So we're working with Transport to figure out the specifics, and that information will be available on our website as it's determined, and we'll also have a link to Transport.
So that those riders will know. What kind of, you guys have a lot of experience doing a lot of these other projects. What are the sort of main citizen questions, concerns that you typically hear as you're trying to outreach and let people know? Are there themes to that, or is it really site dependent?
I think people typically just really want real-time updates. So with that, I always say check all our social media accounts, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, so you can kind of figure out which neighborhood you're in, and we'll always post construction updates on a neighborhood basis. And then we're consistently reaching out to local media about lane closures and traffic detours too.
If people don't know, this is a little sidebar.
Sure.
Will you give a 2-minute, 1-minute thing on Nextdoor?
So Nextdoor is something that you can, where you can go, a place where you can go and get updates just about your neighborhood.
So you join your neighborhood group, and then the city is an outside entity. We can put posts there, and that way our posts are more geographically appropriate,
focused.
I guess. Okay. Have you gotten good response using that?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have, not as many people utilize Nextdoor as, say, Facebook, but it's still a useful tool.
Yeah, I belong in my neighborhood. I find it really
useful,
so, because a lot of times, too, I'm guessing people, if I'll own this, you don't pay attention until you're driving through the intersection.
Right.
The postcard, the whatever, and then you're like, wow.
That's what we're hoping to avoid. Yeah, I'd like to add on to what you asked before about, people kind of saying, is this site specific? Or a question that I get a lot is why this intersection?
Oh, yes.
We have needs all over town. How do we prioritize? How do we look at things? So if I could take a minute to talk about that.
Yeah.
So we were kind of reactive in the past as to where we did improvements and how. And 4 years ago, just about 4 years ago in 2011, we developed a study and we looked at 160 signalized intersections throughout the city and started doing a priority, kind of a data-driven matrix.
Oh, wow.
Looking at accident rates, congestion, lack of multimodal improvements. Are we missing bike lanes? Are we missing sidewalks? And developed really a short list coming out of that of 20 projects, and that was 4 years ago, just about 4 years ago. And so we're in the process of updating that now again. And Horsetooth and Timberline came in the top 10, so that's how we were able to prioritize this as a need citywide.
Which other intersections hit that list and have either been done or sort of in the queue?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to have to look at my note here real quick as I wrote this down. So, yeah, out of the top 13 projects that we identified, 9 of those have either been built, will be built this summer or next summer. Wow. So that's why we did pretty good, and that's why we're looking at the intersection study again and doing an update, taking these projects off the list and kind of moving more up. And then things just change over time. Like I said, you know, parts of town maybe have some new development or redevelopment, so traffic patterns shift. So we're going to continue to look at this every few years.
So that's a lot of intersections. These are not, I mean, I don't consider them small improvements. That's a pretty major redo. How do we pay for those?
Yeah, with this project in particular, we received a federal grant. Okay. It's called a Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Grant. So again, kind of going back to that study that we did, one of the categories that we put in there is under economic health. Are these projects grant eligible? Are they grant ready?
Okay.
And so we actually kicked out, I believe, 5 applications for grants from that study, and we secured grants at 4 of them. So Horsetooth and Timberline, Vine and Shields, which is coming up this year, has a grant in it.
Okay.
Drake and Shields, some turn lane improvements next year.
Shields,
and then proud to say that late last fall, we secured a substantial grant for Horsetooth in College. So we'll begin working on that design hopefully later this year.
You're going to give Horsetooth people a break.
Yeah, we are.
We're not going to do that.
We're not going to do Harmony back to back to back to back. But yeah, so those 4 projects that I just mentioned there, we secured $5 million in grants.
Wow, that's outstanding.
Yeah, essentially doubling, you know, our money for those intersections. So that was a key piece of our study.
Yep. So the grants are a huge piece of that, but just so people have an understanding of how creative we get, I guess, and the other sources, what other funding pots go to contribute to these intersections?
A majority of the funding comes from the Building on Basics, Ginny.
Oh, okay.
So in 2005, the voters approved that quarter-cent sales tax extension.
Yep.
And within that big pot of Bob money, we have a special place in there dedicated to arterial intersection improvements.
Okay.
So that's the money that we use to match the grants and apply for the grants. From time to time, there are some other avenues too. There's a regional road impact fee that we share with the county.
Oh, sure.
So we're using some of that at Vine and Shields. And then last year we built some turn lanes at Kechter and Timberline. Okay. And there was a new development going in, and they were required to build a turn lane for their traffic impacts. So instead of doing those as 2 separate projects, because we already had one in design.
You're going to dig the road up.
Yeah, we just took their fees and basically put them into our project and built the 2 turn lanes together.
Oh,
so
that's a win-win.
Yeah,
and
it was good.
To do that. That is good. So you talked a bit about the grants are for almost an air quality aspect, which is great. On your data-driven bit of looking at these intersections, you said you looked at some of the safety and accident patterns there. Yeah. How do we mitigate those by doing these improvements? Yeah,
so in specific detail here, we looked at a 3-year reporting period for Horsetooth and Timberline. We had 102 accidents.
Wow, is that a lot? Seems like a lot.
It's kind of staggering. It's higher than average.
Okay.
And so that's one trigger for us is we're able to look at averages throughout the city and other places. And so really what we saw there with the accident problem was some rear end collisions. Those were very high, and that's usually due to a lack of right turn lanes. So that's how we mitigate that one. And then the other is what we call an approach turn, and what that really means is a left turning vehicle comes across 2 lanes of traffic and probably doesn't see that second car.
Right.
So we saw that accident come up quite a bit too. And so signal timing, how we
so you get the left arrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead.
Yeah, so we'll be adding dual left turns on Timberline.
Oh, nice.
And then that allows us to change that signal timing and mitigate that problem.
So we do have this really beautiful rendering of what the intersection looks like.
Yeah.
The right turns come in 3 directions, but not a 4th. There's not enough right
Not
turn.
enough volume.
Okay.
Yeah, so we looked at what the traffic looks like today, and then a projection of 20 years from now, and so those are the numbers that we work off of, and yeah, we didn't see the need for that fourth right turn lane now or in the future.
Right. Perfect. Okay, so what else? It's a big construction season. This is a major one for sure. This is how we're doing it.
I guess I would just want citizens to know that all the businesses are open and we'll still, have access to all businesses in the area.
Perfect. Regular business time going.
Yep.
Some detours, but we're working around the school schedule. So that's good. And it was fun to get a preview of other projects coming. And nice that they're spread all over the city as well.
Yeah, I think, like Joe mentioned, the FC trip as kind of the high level, and then, if people need more specific detail and information, we have those resources available.
fcgov.com/Horsetooth and Timberline.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, and I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk about safety too, Ginny.
Sure.
Again, with so many projects going on.
Oh, worker safety.
So many work zones. So, not only the safety of the workers, which is very important, but the safety of the traveling public. So I would say, by all means, please avoid distracted driving. Make sure to stay off your phones when you're in or near a work zone.
Obey those
And always.
Yeah,
and
make it
always.
safer for the traveling public and the workers, our contractors, and we have a lot of city employees out there in the work zones too. So
yeah, that's a huge one. I saw numbers last year on accidents there, not necessarily in Fort Collins, but overall, and it is kind of scary how often that happens.
yeah, we would appreciate that.
Yeah, and just be patient with the project and focus on the end result.
Right. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, our
And
new
more efficient.
streetscape standards,
Yeah.
and it'll be a win-win all the way around. We realize, again, it's going to be an impactful summer in this area, and we've done everything
Is that
we
our
can.
future?
Every summer? Boy, you put me on the spot now.
I know.
Yeah.
You can't speak for others. We could blame it on CDOT or
Yeah.
Excel or something
Well, I
else.
think I would say that for the next couple of years, I would say yes, that this probably will be our norm. There's a lot going on, a lot of maintenance that was deferred that needs to be done, and you can see that with CDOT resurfacing 287 or College Avenue this summer.
That
so
one's coming.
yeah, just some older assets, and we need to take care of them.
Sure, and that makes sense. So, all the more reason to stay engaged, watch your mail, watch all these social media things, and know where you're going.
Yeah.
All right. You guys, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your time,
Thank
Jenny.
you.
Yeah, gear up. Drive safe this summer. Thanks for joining us.